So Vajovegam, then Manasa, controlling the mind, making the mind only think of Krishna. And Krodavegam, anger is the cause of destruction. And anger comes from having material desires. Arjuna asked Krishna in the 3rd chapter of Bhagavad Gita, why do people do things that they know are bad for them, but still they're controlled by these things that they have to do and they do them? So Krishna replied, it is lust alone, Arjuna, which is born of the mode of passion, uncontrollable desires. I must have this, the anxiety to have things, to enjoy the senses, which is born of the mode of passion, and later on transformed into ignorance in the mode of wrath, and wrath or anger, because the nature of desires in this world is that they're never fulfilled. Even if I think they're fulfilled, there's always something that I didn't get out of it. This is okay, but. And because of that, I become angry. And then anger, as Krishna explains in the 2nd chapter of Gita, from contemplating the objects of senses, attachment arises. And from attachment, lust comes. And from lust, anger. And from anger, bewilderment of memory. And then one falls down into the material pool. Even if he's already initiated, even if he has twice initiation, he can fall down in the transmigration and the cycle of birth and death, even in lower species. Then he becomes so uncontrolled, then he can't control his tongue, then he engages in material activities, and then he starts smoking and taking meat. There's no end to it. And then even if someone has diksha, he can become a pig, a hog, or even a bacteria after that. If it's beginning, if we let our senses start being uncontrolled. So, Vacho Vegam, Manasi, Kroda Vegam, controlling the anger. And then Gurudev said there's a line, actually Prabhupada also says this, there's a line from the mind to the tongue, to the belly, to the genitals. And if one is not controlled, then all that produces uncontrolled lust, and so many things, as just mentioned, comes from that. So, Vacho Vegam, Manasi, Kroda, controlling the anger. Vacha Vegam, Manasi Kroda Vegam, Jiva Vegam, the tongue. The tongue likes to eat so many palatable things. Like Gurudev mentioned, you like to drink Pepsi Cola and Coca-Cola. But this makes the line going down to the genitals, and then one becomes uncontrolled in every aspect. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ordered Srila Raghunath Das Goswami, don't eat anything cooked by non-devotees. Otherwise your mind becomes wicked by the wicked mood of the people who made the food. Also, even in the realm of prasadam, don't eat opulent food, even if it's mahaprasadam. Only take that which is enough to maintain body and soul together. Otherwise the tongue drags everything else down. Jiva Vegam Udarapasta Vegam. And if one can't control his tongue, then his belly also becomes upset and he becomes sick. Udara Upasta. And then so much lust comes. A person who can do this, who control his 6 pushings or 6 urges, this is such a powerful thing that he becomes qualified to become guru and makes disciples all over, and he can make disciples all over the world. A disciple will do well to have such a guru. Then Srila Gurudev goes on to the next verse, which is on page, so many pages for verse 1. Verse 2. Atyahara prayasascha prajalpo niyamagraha janasangascha lolam cha sabir bhaktir vanasyati. Bhakti is destroyed by the following 6 kinds of faults. 1. Eating too much or collecting more than necessary. So the first is eating too much means eating too much with all the senses. It doesn't mean eating too much only with the tongue. And that's why it adds collecting more than necessary. My sense of touch has to have more soft things, fluffy things. And my sense of sight has to have more things in my apartment so that it looks good. And when people come to my house, they'll think that I'm very prestigious or that I have very good taste. And what's another sense?
Hearing.
Hearing. How does that be uncontrolled? I want to hear what? I want to hear praise of myself. That's fine. If I have all Gurudev's things, Prabhupada's things, then there's no problem. But collecting more than necessary, as Kanayalal Prabhu said, knowledge of knowing things about the weather or certain things in the material world, knowing them are necessary. Like, how do you get to the park for Nam Sankirtan? But if that knowledge overwhelms bhakti and covers bhakti, then it's not good. So I have to hear this, and I have to read that, and I have to get more knowledge. This destroys bhakti. Or over-endeavoring for things which is hard to achieve. That is, anything that's outside of bhakti is considered an over-endeavor. Useless mundane talks. Mundane talks are okay in relation to bhakti. That is, how do I get to the place to meet you for Sankirtan? That's information about the world, but it's in relation to bhakti. Can you please cut up the vegetables? Today's the Sunday feast. That's not Harikatha directly, but because it's for bhakti, it's for pleasing Krishna, that mundane talk is okay. But useless mundane talks means frivolous, just a loose tongue. And again, even talking the confidential pastimes of Radha and Krishna is also in the category of a loose tongue. Especially, Gurudev was extremely adamant and brought it up again and again about ladies and men talking in seclusion about these topics, thinking that this means we're very advanced. But actually, he says it's nothing but loose tongue and nothing but lust. So in the 4th verse of Manashiksha, does anybody know that verse? Where Srila Raghunath Das Goswami is instructing his mind to be very careful about mundane talks, which he compared to a what? To a what? Tigress is the... Well, that's also...
It's in this verse. Yeah.
That means tigress, what is tigress compared with? Talks of mukti or liberation. That devours our soul. And then the other one is Well,
Prostitute and mundane talk.
what? What?
Asatvata Vesha Visritsa Matisavasva Harini.
Which means?
The Asatvata or means talks about mundane things. It is like a prostitute which steals all the wealth of our intelligence.
Why is mundane talk compared to a prostitute? Because a prostitute plunders all the man's wealth and then kicks him out. So all of our intelligence, the treasure of our good spiritual intelligence, is plundered by loose mundane talks.
If you hear about mukti, it is like a tigress which destroys you completely and forever.
It can, if one hears about liberation and merging in all respects, becoming equal in all respects to an impersonal God, we can lose our identity as an individual soul forever. That's why associating with Mayavadis is condemned and considered the most dangerous thing. So then useless mundane talks, failure to adopt essential regulations or fanatical adherence to regulations. This is niyama agraha and niyama agraha. That is, not doing these things, or following the rules and regulations to the point where I'm missing the point. That is, suppose a pure devotee comes into my temple and I'm busy saying my Gayatri mantra, or I'm taking care of the deities, and I think I can't stop, or I haven't finished the end of my round. I can't stop. But the most important thing is to go and pay obeisances to that pure devotee and make that pure devotee feel comfortable, and then beg permission to go back to my Vaidhi Bhakti services. And then not doing it, not following these instructions of nectar of devotion, also destroys bhakti.
To lose.
Huh? Say that again?
And to lose, very, very, you take very easy, the rules and regulations.
Take it very easy means?
You don't... Loose. Sometimes...
Oh, loose.
Loose, yeah.
Loose. Being very loose. Well, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if I say my Gayatri at 4 p.m. The main thing is that I say it. Whereas Gurudev said it must be done at the nick of time. If I happen to forget at the right time, I asked him once, suppose I forget to say it at the right time, and then I remember 3 hours later. Should I wait till the next right time and say 2? Like if I forget or I wake up too late to say my morning Gayatri in the junction between night and day, and then I remember at 9 o'clock, should I then wait till 12 o'clock and say 2? And Gurudev said, no. Immediately, it's the moment that you remember, in any condition, immediately say it at that moment. And then say the next one at the right time.